who am I and what do I do?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a former professional poker player, now, indeed since 2004, 2005, a full-time corporate speaker and trainer. I guess some would say that I'm now doing sort of what I was probably always destined to do, given that I started my working life as an actor. That's more than 20 years ago now. I was in the very first 2 series of Geordie teen soap Biker Grove. And yes, before you ask, I do know Ant and Dec. They were in the first 2 series with me. And this was a real baptism of fire, really, in the media world. Bearing in mind I was 16, and I couldn't leave my front door sometimes without being mobbed. I decided that really what I wanted to do was this guy's job was be behind the camera, and what I wanted to do was ideally direct feature films. So I knew that one tried and tested route into that position was to sort of go via Oxbridge, and at the age of 18 I got a place at Cambridge to read economics, which I later changed to anthropology, largely because economics plus theatre equaled nervous breakdown. And then my big break came when I had my first screenplay commissioned by Film 4, and that happened whilst I was still at university, and I was actually doing my rewrites at the same time as doing my finals, and yes, I got a very average degree as a result. So, by the age of 24, I'd written films for Film 4 and Columbia TriStar and Miramax, and directed a number of award-winning short films and TV commercials. And from the outside, you would have said, his life seems to be going rather well. But for me personally, I just wasn't happy doing what I was doing. I was becoming increasingly unhappy in my work. Listen, the reasons for this are very long and boring, but essentially I just wasn't making the films that I wanted to make. I wasn't working with the people that I wanted to work with. And by the age of 25, I realised that something was going to have to change. So after 9 pretty hard soul-searching months, I made the decision to move to Las Vegas and become a professional poker player. We've all done it, haven't we? Hey? So yeah, I lived and worked in Las Vegas for 3 years, off and on, with a few brief spells in the UK. I learnt a lot about life. I think it was the sort of period that made me a man, if you like. But most of what I learnt about is what I feature in my seminars and presentations. It's decision making. Because bear in mind that a poker player has to make a decision every 90 seconds or so. All right, so that's one which you can't procrastinate, you can't abdicate, you can't delegate. And so it was during this time that I became fascinated by that area, decision making. And it was a meeting point, actually, I remember, of psychology and economics, both of which I've been really fascinated by in my youth. So for me, given that I only thought I'd play poker for, 6 months, maybe a year, it was as much a surprise to me as anyone that I ended up doing it for nearly 3 years before coming back to the UK, for good this time. And I knew that I wanted to embrace risk-taking at some point in my life in business, and for that reason I set up my own video production company in my native Newcastle upon Tyne.
Did you enjoy doing that?
Did I enjoy it? Well, I'd always wanted to run my own company, and so whilst it was challenging, we had a fair degree of success. We ended up selling the company in the end to Bob Geldof's media giant 10 Alps. And the main thing for me was, it was whilst I was running this company that I was asked for the first time to give that talk about the relationship between poker and business. And every talk that I gave seemed to lead to another one. Someone in the audience would ask me to do it for their business. And eventually I just got to the point where I thought, hang on, this should sort of be my job, this should be my career. So in 2005, I joined a training company, because I sort of thought that I needed to learn how to do this properly. I joined a company called the Mind Gym, who are absolutely brilliant, and for whom I delivered, I think, nearly 400 sessions for all manner of just brilliant blue chip clients, Virgin, The Guardian, ABN AMRO, just fantastic people. And more than anything else, actually, during that period of time, I learned not to speak, although I did learn a lot about speaking, but actually about training, about facilitating, which is much more about listening. And then, end of 2007, I decided to sort of go it alone. I'd already been doing my own speeches about poker, and ever since that period of time, that's been my sole source of income. And in total, I've now delivered over 1,000 sessions for over 150 clients around the world.